All right. Hey guys, welcome back. This is episode 6 of Stall Talk. My name's Kendra Dixon, and I'm very excited about our topic today. If you have followed any of my pages on social media over the years, you know that I love to rodeo for a reason. So today we're going to talk about faith versus finance. But before we get into that, great big thank you to Jake Whitman. Jake Whitman is a performance farrier. He does some consult work out of Weatherford, Texas. And I owe Jake so much. I say this all the time when he sponsors one of our episodes because he really took my horse at a very crucial time in our career when I was having so many problems keeping my horse sound, and so many vets and farriers had kind of taken a stab at it. And the problem didn't get better, it got much worse. And I was trying to stay in the top 15 standings in the world. And then I met Jake Whitman and Dr. Justin High. So together, that team, they got amazing results. They did help my horse feel better immediately, first set of shoes, but over the process of a year, they had him in better shape than he had ever been. So thank you, Jake Whitman. If anybody has questions about your horse's feet, if you're not sure about the shoes, if you're not sure about the angles, if you suspect something's not adding up, that you need help and you don't know who to ask, Jake Whitman is a performance farrier and he does consult work. So reach out to us at Stall High and we're happy to connect you. Just send us an email, info@stallhigh.com. All right, I want to introduce Lori Roth. That is my right-hand woman at Stall High. She's in Nacogdoches, Texas. Hey, Lori. And then our guest speaker today is Justin Smith. Hey, Justin.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. So I'm excited that you're here because, man, we just met a month or so ago at the kickoff for the Country Network.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Fun stuff. I'm excited.
And then we make this connection and you're like, oh, well, I'm originally from East Texas. And I'm like, well, I'm originally from East Texas. And Lori's like, I'm in East Texas. So how wild is that? Just, instantly connected there with locale. But now you're in Dallas.
Yes.
Right? Dallas area. So incredible resume. This is wild. So not only are you a veteran, so you served our country. Thank you for that. So U.S. Army, you are CEO of Tri-Point Athletic.
Yes, ma'am.
You have a title that I don't know much about, but I want to learn more. So multi-sport functional movement and agility.
Oh, yeah.
I don't really know what that means, but I want
to. Functional movement. Wow.
So you are a 3-time gold medalist. Okay. You're a national champion and Masters outdoor indoor 3-time gold medalist, USA track and field, former semi-pro football. It just goes on and on. What don't you do?
I don't know. I haven't, I just keep going. There's a lot of things that I don't do, of course, but that is a long list. Now that you speak on it, that's a long list. It's fun though. It's fun. The journey is, it's just fun to be on this journey of, testing my limits and seeing how far I could go. So.
Okay. So that's what I want to talk about. So last night in class, so we have a mentor program inside the Stall High app, and Stall High is an app. It's a free app. It has a community aspect. So horse people that want to connect with other horse people and they want to be on their own platform instead of, some other options out there, they can come to Stall High. But what we really enjoy doing most is our mentorship program. And there's different levels of training that someone can apply for or join for online mentorship. We're really starting to find our voice, and the solution that we bring to the equine industry is assessing and removing the mental blocks. And we talk a lot about mind, body, and spirit. So I want to pick your brain today. The body, even as much as we could commit to taking care of that, right? We're still going to have an extent that we reach where there is no more. Like we're going to only have so much of a full range of rotation or limitation, whatever that is for a person. We can always increase that, but we know there's going to be limits of some kind, even at our maximum capacity. The mind, not as many limits, unless there's a block, be it emotional injury, stored trauma, false belief systems. That's something I had to really struggle with for a lot of years and wasn't even aware of it. But then our spirit, well, that's eternal. And back when I rodeoed years ago and I was having so much trouble staying in the top 15, I would get really nervous to look at the numbers. And now Matt Reeves, he's an 8-time National Finals rodeo qualifier. He's our coach at Stall High on Mondays. And just last night, he said, God gave you a brain. Use it. So he's all for faith, but he also teaches us to treat rodeo, what we do, not who we are, what we do very methodically with a business plan. So we struggle, I think more people out there, not just me, struggle with, if I have a business plan, does that negate my faith? Like where is that weird concoction in knowing the balance of how to take care of all three, mind, body, and spirit? Do you have any input on that? Any insight or any struggles that you've had over the years?
There's so much that goes into that, of course. And so what you have to do is compartmentalize, right? A lot of people try to find the balance of things, but it's not necessarily the balance. It's the rhythm you catch yourself in. It's more of a rhythm than a balance, because you would always get to a point, right? To where you're trying to balance everything, but you're looking for the crash part. So in order to focus on what's ahead, you have to take the segments of what you're doing piece by piece, meaning, you have your mind set on one thing. You can't think about everything all at once. And so whatever you give time to, you're taking time from something else. Therefore, you need to have people like yourself, around you. I have people like you that are coming to my life right now. And so it takes a village, and that's part of that. The people that are around you to help you build and pick up the slack where you can't think about those things. Mm-hmm. I know for me, I'm intrinsically motivated, right? It doesn't take much to motivate me. I do that to myself. And so sometimes that's a battle too, because, you sometimes become a perfectionist, and I want everything to be to the T, so it's good to kind of get in the rhythm of what you got going and adding to it with the people that are around you. So.
Mm-hmm. So good. And I do think it's real easy to fall into that trap of perfectionism. I think part of the reason why I feared having a logical business plan, I thought I was dishonoring God because I was such an outspoken woman of faith. But see, I really had performance anxiety. I really had fear. So I was like, la 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 la. I don't want to know what other people are doing. I don't want to know what the current time is. I don't want to know who's entered. I don't want to think about how much fuel I spent to get to St. Paul, Oregon. Like, don't put any of that pressure on me. I can't handle it. And so sometimes I think we can kind of put our head in the sand. Like you could get pulled off course in so many different areas and not know it.
Right. Yeah. And that's the focus. That's the focus part, and that's a learned behavior. Again, compartmentalize, knowing what your situation is and seeing what you're best at, and then going to look at the weakness and seeing where you can add to that from different people, from studying, to just looking around and seeing what other people are doing, but not getting lost in so much of the competition part, and the comparison of what everybody else is doing. And that's a fine line, because the human nature part, right? That's the part where we do begin to compare, unselfconsciously, it's without thinking about it. We just do it. And so again, that's a learned behavior where we have to, just learn from others and come to things like this and talk to each other about it.
Mhm. So good. So what happens, I guess, how did you learn early on
Okay.
not to let how do you compartmentalize? How do you do that and not get
Okay.
pulled off of course?
Right. So some people have their own experiences, like for the most part, trauma, you know. If you've heard part of my podcast and story of some of the traumas that I had in my early childhood, it was this road of having to choose. You come to the fork in the road and you have to choose right or wrong. That will come to mind in everything that you do. Is this right or is it wrong? And then that's the battle too, and if it is right, then I take it to God, because I was brought up in the church at a young age, and I knew that that was a source. I knew that that was one source that I could have. And as I got older, I understood that that was the main source for me. And so for that alone allowed me to get to that point, to be able to start doing that.
Mhm.
Because he would show me and I would ask. How do I get through this? What should I do for whatever situation it was? And so now compartmentalizing begins, because I'm thinking only about that segment, and whatever it ties to in my life. I would say, okay, once I get this part straight, now I can move to the next one. And then once I get that part straight, now I can connect it. And so when I connect it, now I'm looking to the people that are around me. Who am I? Who am I? Who am I looking to for guidance? Who am I looking to for mentorship? Who am I looking to for friendship? Who am I looking to at the expertise in this part? Because like on the business side of things, I didn't know any better. I just knew how to perform. That's my thing. I know how to do it, and I'm a fast learner. But the business side of things, it was one of those things where it's like, I don't know what to do when it came up. So, but beginning on the compartmentalization of that, was just to learn behavior, taking it piece by piece.
So good. So Lori, you and I have been in a tremendous learning season. We didn't choose this path willingly, not really. I mean, it just unfolded and it was so obvious to us. And we both feel so passionate and so obligated to fulfill this this missing link. So this is our way to bridge the great divide, right? And to be able to leverage the digital space to do that, but really being able to help people discover the root issue. Typically, there's a mental reason. There's something mentally holding a horse back, especially when you've already checked the box. Like your vet says, clean bill of health. So Lori, what are you processing right now as far as compartmentalizing and leaning on faith to get you through the day?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I like what you said. Our human nature is a huge factor. And for so many of us, it is a factor that we have to continuously try to overcome, right? When we have a plan, we feel like we've been called to do something. Everything lines up, the experiences, the abilities that God's given us or that we've acquired over time lines up, and then things don't happen like you think they will, or if things aren't looking like you think they would look, then we have this tendency for the internal panic button to go off. And I think those times are most important, that you take it to the Lord. I believe I've experienced it. I believe he will show us where he wants us to go. So, being able to recognize those kind of internal triggers, that panic mode, and kind of reset and take it to him. And then I think it is also crucial, like you said, to like your support group, your friends, your peers that you have around you, to be aware of what's going on, to be supportive, to be able to accept, input and advice and the support from those people whenever things, may not appear like they're going like you think they should. So I think that's a big factor.
So good. And we're challenged. Like we have a new business plan. Like we have a new way of just coming into the Western market, right? Because it's digital. So right now our bits, with the exception of one store, Eli's in Florida, our bits are only for sale online. So not a typical brick and mortar setup. So it's been way out of our comfort zone. So Justin, what have you witnessed in yourself and then in coaching other people about recognizing, is this really a physical limitation? Can I not do it? Or do I just not want to do it because it's not comfortable?
Oh man. So that all ties into the decision making, right? Once you make the decision to do it, now you have to follow through. And with the training that I do, that's actually my job. That's my job, to give them the knowledge and the know-how. And now once they get to use it, I get to help them see the easier way to do it than having the stress of it, right? We go back to functional movement. Functional movement is just optimizing your maximizing and optimizing your range of motion and getting the most out of that range of motion as much as possible. So I'm trying to get you to the natural range of motion as quick as possible and the best way possible to avoid injury and to be able to prevent things from happening, right? So that's it in a nutshell, but my kids making, and I say my kids, my students, I treat them like my own, having the idea of wanting to jump higher, run faster, or, be the ultimate player. And what I do is I start with the heart and the mind first. And my goal is to link the two. To become one, because once you do that, it's like I have a passion for something and I want to feel good about myself while I'm doing it. That's what the kids really want to feel. A lot of people, probably 90% of the coaches, like, they don't get that part. And being intuitive in that way, it's like I can see from their perspective, from their lens, and what that means to them, because they get a lot of gratitude from that. And once they connect it, they even find out more about themselves. They become more self-aware about the direction that they want to take. So prime example, I have some of my football players. And once I get to dial in and go to work and start molding that part of it, they're figuring out things about themselves and the limitations that they have. They even decide to play another sport or not play the one they're involved with in the first place, but still want to train in the way that we're training to keep from getting injured and or to better themselves in the next sport or combine them. So you have all the options, all the things that you want to do. And that's what every person want to do. You want to be great at everything that you do. And so being an athlete just doesn't limit you to one sport, but there is only 24 hours in a day. So we can only do so much, but that's the idea, that's the idea.
Oh, this is so good. So you're hitting a lot of bullseyes, and I'm going to toss it to Lori. So what bullseyes are you immediately thinking about when he says natural range of motion and being an athlete?
Yeah, you have no idea. Yeah, Justin, it's so parallel to what we're doing and why we're doing it. So, we've discussed these things recently in our mentorship program. And I'm not only talking about a rider's range of motion, the horse's range of motion. And honestly, that's the basis of why we're doing what we're doing, teaching methods that are going to increase the range of motion of the rider and the horse, methods that are going to prevent, they are preventative, they are going to prevent injury of the horse and the rider. They're going, it's less taxing on the rider's and the horse's body. Like the way that what we're teaching online, all 5 of our coaches together, that is the ultimate goal. And you even said like they want to be feel good in what they're doing. You know, each one of us, of course, naturally would love to reach our full potential, right? And that's also the goal of what we're doing, is helping people to reach, you know, realize and reach their full potential to be able to do the best they can do. So surprisingly, I hope the people that are watching this understand and see that, are catching those parallels, but because that's how and why we're doing what we're doing.
You nailed it. Like that, beautifully said. I knew you would run with that one. And it is, I think it's fascinating. The more we learn, the more we want to know. Like it's just hard when you have those hurt feelings and those disappointments. You mentioned people just want to feel good, right? That's the real goal. But when you're stuck and you don't know how to get unstuck, and especially if you start to become isolated, like I think for me, I just didn't realize there was a process to a solution, to finding a lasting cure. And we can kind of go off on the faith topic. Like I didn't know how to be happy. I didn't know what joy was growing up. I didn't have a lot of that in my family. And so it was years and years to develop that, really. And now that the curiosity is sparked, especially since Stall High, since we created this app and we're on this like learning journey to help others, but as iron sharpens iron, we're starting to see things in a new light. So Justin, how do you ignite that curiosity and the passion to learn? What are some real activities or exercises that you put your students through to help them start to like open their eyes and go, wow, to connect the heart with the mind?
Oh, it's goal setting. So, right, you have a passion for something, but then let me rephrase that. So back up. The very first thing is why. Why do you want to play football? Why? Like, you know, I mean, that's one of the first questions I ask. Why do you want to run track? Why do you want to play volleyball? Like, why are you out here? And so, I mean, and their parents could be standing right there. I'm like, mom and dad is not here right now. Like, what do you want to do? Not what, you know, it's not about what mom and dad wants to do. What are you thinking about? Soon as I do that, I'm already the electromagnetic field or whatever you want to call it is starting to boom, boom, boom. Because they're like, this is what I like doing and it's fun for me. You feel me? But up here, because of the things that they've seen online, and from the things that they've seen from mom and dad and things that they see on TV, it's all jumbled up right here. So you got roadblocks, you have caution cones, and you're running around construction trying to connect from your heart to the mind, right? Because you got all that stuff. And so right then and there, I'm beginning to work on the heart and the mind in that way by asking them, you know, why do you want to do this? And as we get into it, that's the learning thing. I get to learn them and they get to learn who I am. And now we have that connection on what we can build on. And so, you know, prime example with one of my students that wanted to keep training with me, but wanted to quit football. His parents wanted him to keep playing football. And I'm like, I knew the entire time that he didn't want to, you know, and that's not for me to say, you know, but I knew we were going to get to that road. So there, I prepared myself for the conversation. But because he connected with my values in the training and where those values come from and how I build my character through the years, through injury and through prayer, right? TriPoint Athletics, is the name of my company, and TriPoint represents the Trinity. And so all of my students know what that means when I talk about the Trinity. And another question is that I ask them, do they believe in God? Are they faithful? And all of them pretty much like, yes, sir, And I say, you know what the Trinity stands for in my company? And I say, yeah, yes, sir, Father, Son, Holy Spirit, And so with that, that's where we begin everything. Now they know that it's not only a purpose and an intent of what we're doing. They become more, they gain more clarity in themselves and the decision that they made, and that they have backup. They got backup. You know what I mean? They have another source that they can go to affirm them in what they're doing. So they can confirm themselves in what they're doing.
Oh, this is so good. So some people have never felt that or experienced that in a tangible way. But before we get into that, I want to circle you back, because you were saying, why are you doing this? Mm-hmm. What is fun for you? Okay, so here's some of the blinders, right? My people, and I had them on. I was just riding horses blind, and I was rodeoing dumb for a long time because I failed to ask, is this fun for my horse? Yep. It didn't matter to me because I was so driven. I was going to perform. I was so competitive. And I was shelling out so much money and coming home so devastated. Why aren't these drills working? Why didn't this new headgear work? Why didn't this new saddle work? Why doesn't this new horse like me? Why are we crashing barrels every week? I failed to consider the mental health of my horse. I didn't ask my horse, is this fun? Do you understand what I'm asking you? Yeah, I've drilled it in your head 8 million times for the past 8 months, but it's not working. I had false beliefs. I never stopped back to take a 30,000 foot view. That's hard to do. Those are blinders. And I feel like, Laura, you can share as well, like, oh man, once you consider how it all works together, the mind, the body, and the spirit, the mechanics and the faith, like you can never not see it. So do you have anything you want to expand on, Lori?
Mm-hmm. Well, the thing that stuck out the most to me is when you said you asked them why, and that gets that connection going, right? So our Monday night coach, Matt Reeves, has asked that very question to our members. Find your why. Are you doing this because your parents did it and you were expected to do it? Or are you doing it because this is what you love to do, right? Have you allowed it to become what you are? Because you shouldn't do that. It's not what you are, it's not who you are, it's what you do. So have you allowed it to become who you are? And if so, take a step back and look at that. So, and I think too, the only other thing I wanted to add is, and this is just from personal experiences over the past year or so, I do believe that, like, the desires of our heart have a place that's worth our attention. So if you love to ride horses, if you love to barrel race, if you love to rope, if you love to paint, if you love to play music, I would highly suggest that you not ignore that and take that to God, take that to him in prayer and seek out why do I love this so much? Things that you're better than average at, things that bring you a lot of joy are really worth diving into, because I just experienced putting off something for 22 years for it to be brought back and right there, like, hello, I tried to tell you this a long time ago and you ignored it. So I would highly suggest, diving into that, no matter what it is.
Real quick, Lori, that's actually part of the conversation. So it's not only do I ask him the why, I ask him, what do you like doing? Like, what do you like to do? And so we go on a tangent of like, oh, I like to write, I read music, or, play music and all that kind of stuff. So that's part of the conversation, actually. I asked them,
That's
what do they
awesome.
like doing? You know, of course, we're here to get you faster and to do this and to do that and to hit the ball harder or whatever it is. You know, we have that conversation through the practice or through the sessions of what we're doing. What do you like doing? What do you like doing? So, yeah, that's good.
So good. So I did a review this morning, review my ride video analysis, and it was a very simple question. Like, I know I have a nice horse. The rider sent in her videos. She's won a lot of money. So over 50,000 in earnings. The horse is starting to hit barrels. Well, that seems like a pretty simple question. Like, how do I get my horse to stop hitting barrels? But there's so much more to it. So like you just said, Justin, like, get to the why. Don't
Yeah.
neglect, don't negate. If you're so focused on the business plan of things and you forget the heart and you forget your horse's heart, your horse's emotions, you know, how your horse feels, you're negating something. Another common mistake I see people fall into, especially in barrel racing, it's really popular, and it has been for 50 years, to circle the barrel. Just train your horse to just look at that barrel and just make circles around and around and around. It's almost like we hope that if we just drill it into their mind and their muscle memory enough, that it's just gonna like osmosis, just click. The problem is horses learn to circle it, but they don't learn to leave it, and they learn a weak posture. So the inside, the 50% of the inside is what becomes strengthened. That's the awareness. The outer 50%, people kind of forget where it is. Those outer limbs are just kind of all over the place, and they're traveling outside of the frame. That's where it defies science. It defies anatomy. It defies physics. It defies common sense. But we are so locked into circling the barrel, we can't seem to escape that tradition. So what would happen if you only worked half of your body?
Right. So, wow, there's so much I can go. We can have a whole series of just that by itself. I don't even know where to start, but I do want to go back to the part where we were talking about the why and some of those things, and how I basically get motivated to keep going and to stay in it, right? So I've had all these kind of injuries, you know, from torn ACL, MCL, meniscus, you know, pretty much cracked patella, both shoulders, my pec on this side, my back twice. You know, I can keep going. And they're like, how do you keep doing it? How do you keep moving? For number one, my children. And number two, I hadn't finished the goal. And so in that conversation that we talked about the full potential, I don't necessarily believe in full potential. I believe that we can go further than full potential. I think our full potential in some areas have a capacity, right, that can be reached. But for me, full potential has to carry over. It's almost like your cup being filled and overrun by, you know, the abundance of what God is giving you. So if it's overflowing, I'm able to give more. You understand? Oh man, this is so sorry. I'm just this gets me excited. This gets me excited. But what I'm saying is for that motivation inside of me, knowing that I didn't finish, when I have other people giving me the affirmation of what I've already accomplished and reaching that full potential, that gives me that overflowing of the cup to be able to like just keep going, if that makes sense. But there's so many things I want to say. My mind is just going crazy right now with all of that. But I do want to bring it back to each student, and because we're all different, and that's one of the things that I teach to them. You know, I do my best to mirror them first so they can recognize who they are.
Okay.
In everything that I do and what I say, It's like I want to mirror them. And so that's me giving them the green light to be whatever they want to be, whoever they want to be, because now they feel comfortable. Now they feel comfortable.
So good. So they're comfortable. Yeah. So you're hitting a lot more bullseyes right now. So many. So the mirroring, so you mirror your student first so they can see their identity, who they
Yes.
are. Okay.
Oh, and it's automatic.
Well, horses automatically mirror people.
Yeah.
Like it is like looking in a mirror, but sometimes we're so afraid to hold the gaze and really look because we're
Sure.
afraid of what we might see. We're afraid that, oh, wow. I think it gets overwhelming sometimes thinking, I still have more growing to do.
Yeah. And
I have
so,
more learning to do.
not to cut you off, but going back to the original question of like the horses going around the barrel. And I grew up watching some of that stuff. It's the same thing in track and field, right? The science part of it. Growing up running track, I hated running the curve. Hated running the curve because of all the things you have to pay attention to, all the things that you have to do to block out the outside, that all the things you had to pay attention to on the inside of what you're doing. So I had to trick my mind into attacking the curve, knowing what it takes to attack the curve and accomplishing that. And so when you're running around the curve, this outside arm has to work harder than the inside. It has to swing harder. My elbow has to swing back and forth harder and a wider spread for me to get around the curve the way I need to in a proper way. It's just science. Even a lot of runners don't even know that. Even a lot of professional runners, they're like, why are you? Because I would practice doing my arm motions and also go around the track backwards to even things out. And when I said I can go on a tangent, like I can just go on every sport about the specifics of using both sides, meaning if you use both sides of your body, using both parts of your brain as well. I'm thinking about how I'm attacking this, whatever sport it is. I'm ambidextrous, but I actually write and draw with my right hand. I can write with my left. I chose to play sports with my left. So I'm predominantly shoot basketball, throw with my left, but I can do it with both. And then as I've grown through the injuries, teaching myself how to dominate with the other side and feel the same as if I was doing it the other side, I had to teach myself how to do it. So when I teach my students, especially baseball players, because they get injured so much. And then with the quarterbacks, I teach them to practice and work with the other hand. You can keep your dominant right hand for the most part, because that's what you're dominant with. But as you practice and warm up with the opposite hand, the more accurate you are with the other.
Say that again.
I said, the more you practice and get used to one side, the more accurate you become on the other one. So now your brain is putting everything together symmetrically. It's like, dude, I got to perform this way on this side. So this one, for one, will keep me from getting injured, from getting hurt. So now you're finding the balance. It's a shift. It's the shift in balance in the body that your brain starts to recognize to use properly. And so that's what I use. It's the proper form. It's the proper mechanics. I'm extremely particular when it comes to that. Extremely particular.
You are blowing my mind. Okay. This is so important to me on horseback because traditional methods failed me. Like I ruined horses and I blame them for it. I didn't take accountability for improving myself and expanding my own comprehension of their anatomy and learning things like, the outside. And the way you just explained that is like shooting like fireworks off in my brain right now. The more you practice with the opposite, the more accurate you get with the other side. Your brain is firing symmetrical. Well, a horse is a little different because they have 4 feet on the ground.
Yeah.
So not only is there left, right, there's front, back.
Yep.
And I want a full body experience. I want every single hoof when it lands around the turn, it is extremely methodical and as well placed as possible. So I want to teach my horses how to the correct posture, not defy physics, not defy their natural build or their natural range of motion. What happens a lot is we actually restrict a horse's range of motion, and the industry term is collected. I have to hold a horse collected. No, that's not collected. That's not natural collection or natural posture. That's restriction.
And it's the same thing in running. I found out, just practicing and becoming a perfectionist at the particular movements of the technicalities of it. Mm-hmm. So stay with me. On what you're talking about is exactly right for a horse. And it's the same thing as a person as we run, right? That's why we don't run with the same elbow and the same knee up at the same time. You just couldn't do it. And so with that, there's a perfect balance. Whereas if I bring the opposite elbow back, the further I bring it back, the harder the opposite knee comes up. The further I drive it back, the harder and faster the opposite knee comes up. Meaning, if I do it symmetrically, a lot of guys just like to get out there and run, even though they've trained to do certain exercises and mechanics on one leg, one arm, whatever the case may be. As you run, it needs to be as symmetrical as possible. My elbow and my knee are connected, not necessarily my hands and my feet, because my shoulders and my hips are the primary movers. So with that, if it moves the way I need it to move and my midsection is aligned with that, there's a few professional and legendary runners who know this feeling. It is a sweet, sweet feeling. And you can see it in some runners when they get, you're almost close to perfect symmetrical when you run. And Justin Gatlin is a prime example of seeing him. A lot of people like to see him run because of the way he looks. So when he gets going, it's like he's scooting. That's the most wonderful feeling in running. And that's when you know that you're completely symmetrical in the change of getting the most out of your range of motion, your functional movement, your power, and everything. And it's the same thing with horses. And if they are able to touch the ground at the same time as passing through that momentum, it's nothing like it.
I know. It's so easy.
Yeah.
It's so rewarding. People ask, so one of my things is like, do you want to learn how to make butter smooth turns? How to teach your horse to make butter smooth turns without having to pull on the reins. It actually having slack in the rein instead of tension, because that tension is resistance, and it does show up on the clock. So I always want slack. We call it a smile in the reins. Our Friday coach, Ronnie Clampett, that's his term. Keep a smile in the rein, keep slack. But when you feel that balance, when things are symmetrical and are working as they should, as they are naturally designed in a natural and fullest capacity of their natural range and rhythm. I love that word. You started off today with rhythm. It is so rewarding, and it's so easy, and it just glides. And then you look at the clock and it surprises you at how easy it is. It's so much less effort. If that makes sense. It doesn't make sense mentally until you learn it, until you feel it. Is that the same for you?
Oh man, it's exactly, it's dead on. It's dead on. So thank you.
We're gonna have to have you back, Justin.
Oh man, this is fun stuff. This is fun stuff. I can talk about this stuff all day. all day.
I have a few minutes to go over some reviews, some videos. So if you need to go, we totally understand. But if you have a few minutes, I'm going to share my screen.
A few more minutes. I'm golden. You got me.
Right. Well, just let us know when you have a hard stop. All right. So we're going to first look at some things from the week. Thanks again, Jake Whitman. Thanks for sponsoring Stall High. Okay. So here's a prime example. This is a lady. She's one of our members. She's a good friend of mine. She's in the online mentorship program. So we've been studying her videos. She's getting this young horse ready for a futurity competition. We are weeks away from go time. So this rider has made very simple changes in her posture, and we're starting to see a huge difference. This was a screenshot she sent me this week, and I'm like, wow, look at the difference. Now her video, it's a different format, and so I don't have her video today, but I do have this one. This is Lindsay. She's in our mentorship program. This is crazy to see the progress. This turn is so efficient. This horse used to go way past the barrels, used to put her head up in the air, really struggle, and this rider had a hard time just getting close to the barrels. And now look at the difference. So now she's gone just within a year from being a rider with two horses that I don't think, Lori, she had ever been in the 3D. Well, now not only is she in the 3D, she's moving up to the 2D in less than a year on the same horses. She didn't buy new horses. She's just in a mentorship program where she's listening on a daily basis and she's collecting the information, and she's starting to let her horse run with a natural range of motion rather than traditional that says you got to check them up, you got to restrict them. This is a review that came in. This was a new rider that sent this review, and I love this rider's heart. She really has a heart to be compassionate and considerate of her horse. She didn't understand why, when they added speed, the horse would get kind of tense and start to pull on her hands, because he's super broke. He's super light and soft going slow. But when they add speed, she was like, why is this happening? I'm trying to be light-handed, but I'm having to help him too much. So we just really went through her review last week over the mechanics, like you mentioned, the elbow and the knee, that so applies to what we're teaching horses. And if you're not clued into the anatomy, and if you have an elbow that's swinging too far when you're riding a horse, well, that's going to result in too much pressure being applied, too much force. Here's another success story. This is one of our riders that's really starting to look completely different, starting to develop the posture of a more professional rider, and she's starting to get her results on the clock. Her horses are more willing to go in the pen. It's easier to leave the barrel standing, and she's so much more cohesive in the saddle by simply listening, watching videos online. She has not had to drive all the way to Texas, spend $1,000 in fuel. It's a daily thing. And not everybody can attend every day. That's okay. That's why we have replays. But I'm so proud of her progress. And Justin, guess what?
Yes.
Both of these riders, they're having fun now. It's not stressful anymore. They actually look forward to the race.
A lot easier.
They look forward to having their name called, and they feel just as excited going home as when they left for the barrel race. And most people sadly aren't feeling that much fulfillment right now. Now, this we talked about last night in class because it was a baby setback. So a few weeks ago, this horse had an extreme issue going in the gate. And when I say extreme, like, it's a good thing nobody was standing in the way, right? That it was a huge liability. Last week was amazing. He was so calm. He went right in, lit the arena on fire. He was so fast. Well, over the weekend, just a few days ago, you see how he's starting to want to revert to his old ways. But because of what she's learning, it didn't rattle her cage. It didn't ruffle her feathers like it used to. So watch how she's able to work with him mentally And then, like, this is so less theatrical than it used to be. It's definitely progress. And so Matt talked last night. How do you handle a little setback and just see it as what it is? No, it's not always going to be perfect. But look at that. She got him in. She didn't have to have help. Nobody was injured. Yes, they tipped a barrel, but she's not devastated. She's happy, celebrating the progress. So we're
so good.
Super proud of her. Same rider here. 2 different horses, completely, different styles. This was our other one. I think I've already had that one today. And then this is a young lady. She's not here today, but again, really fast horse. Thinking speed. Sometimes when we think speed over mechanics, it gets the best of us.
Yeah. So you have to be patient. You got to be patient.
It pays to be patient. And sometimes I think we just fail to put ourselves in our horse's hooves and understand what is going through their mind, because we're not the only ones who are disappointed. We're not the only ones who are confused. We're not the only ones who, like, we don't understand, well, why is my horse hitting the barrel? Well, it goes back. It's a mechanical issue first. Then, if we're not careful, it can become a mental issue. And those, I have found, take the most work to repair.
Oh, yeah. After I learned behavior so many times, it's almost like that's the muscle memory part of the brain, and you're having to untangle those sort of things, which is can be extremely hard, extremely difficult. So
thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you, Lori. Thanks, Emily's here. And then I see an iPhone joining us. So that's either Ronnie or Lori, or maybe someone else, another guest, but thank y'all for being here. Thank you, Jake Whitman. Guys, if you're watching, whether right now live or if you're watching a replay and you're not sure about your horse's feet, maybe you've considered reaching out to another farrier, but you just want a second opinion. Let us know how we can connect you with Jake Whitman. He's in Weatherford, Texas. He is a master farrier and he does consult. So if you want to send in pictures and videos, we can help you connect with Jake Whitman. Justin Smith, you are amazing. Where can people follow you if they want to learn more about agility and full natural range of motion?
Wow. The only thing I have right now is Facebook. I'm not so big on social media, but that will come really soon. But I am on Facebook, so they can ask anytime, reach out anytime.
And it's Justin with an E.
With an E, yep. Easy peasy.
And we can help you guys also connect. Justin, we would love to have you back because we really do geek out on the mechanics, the mind, the muscle. Today we talked about faith. How much does faith factor in? Faith, finance. Well, I leaned so heavily on my faith, I was afraid to look at the finance.
Finance, yeah. I love that discussion.
Yeah, I thought I was define my faith if I had a plan and had to stick to it. I'm like, I don't want to be so logical that I don't let God in. But see, I was depending on supernatural favor every day because I didn't apply the mind of Christ in the natural. I lived dependent on supernatural, and thus I was disappointed a lot.
Yeah.
So it pays to have both. He gives us a brain for a reason. Thank you, Matt Reeves.
For sure.
So don't throw one out and lean so heavily on one that you ignore or neglect the other.
Yeah.
And it's an ongoing process.
Yes.
Lori, did I forget anything? Did I miss anything as we close it out?
I don't think so.
All right.
Good stuff. Thank you, Justin.
You're welcome. Thank y'all for having me. This, like I said, it's a privilege, and I'm so thankful. I'm so excited. Thank y'all for having me. I appreciate it.
We'll continue the discussion and maybe see you this Friday. So you're going to be in.
I take that back. So this Friday, the schedule is a little different. It'll be next weekend. So we got time. So it'll be the Friday the 28th, October 28th.
Okay. And that's in Louisville?
Yeah. That's at Louisville High School, the Farmers, right? High school on Main Street, the one on Main Street, Louisville High School.
And so you'll be doing like a speech. You're going to be motivating kids.
Yes. So what we're going to do, a buddy of mine who's survivor of bullying, he's going to lead it off. He wants me to kind of come in and just, share my story and talking about, the things that I'm leading in and how I can serve these students who are going through bullying. And then we're going to have some questions. They're going to ask us questions, the panel, after we get done sharing our story. So, yeah, I'm excited.
So quick question. Does a bully know they're a bully?
I'm going to speak on that. I don't think it's crazy you asked that, because I don't think a lot of people know that. And a lot of children, real quick, are afraid to speak up. So they don't necessarily know it's bullying until we point it out as an adult, even. Until we say, that's not right, that's not good. They're still trying to process. But I can go off on that. But anyway.
Okay. So do you know why I ask you that?
No, ma'am, I don't.
Okay. Because some people are riding, they're following the crowd, and they're following what they were spoon fed. This is what you do. This is how you handle that barrel horse. Yeah. This is what you do in that turn. And they're riding with so much force that literally if a hammer were in their hand, they could drive a nail. But what's in their hand is a rein. Yeah. And they don't realize how abusive that is physically, mentally to the horse. They don't realize they're being a bully. Like, really, if you step back and think about it, the amount of force that their arms and legs are moving unconsciously, typically people would not harm a horse on purpose. Okay, there's some, but so right. If the horse were another person, somebody might be going to jail.
Right. Exactly.
So I just think we just don't know. We don't step back and realize, oh my God, did I bully my horse and I didn't even know it? Well, let's ask your horse.
Right.
Let's read the behavior. Let's get to the root issue, and then let's equip you with strategies and techniques and teach you the mechanics of it. Okay. Mind, body, spirit, the whole thing. Don't just lean heavily on one and negate the other and neglect the other. And that's what we're about at Stall High. Guys, if you are watching now or a replay and you want help with your horse and you're willing to look in the mirror yourself and ask and take responsibility, is the mental block in me? It was in me. And it's okay to identify it, because then you can fix it. And it feels so good to remove the mental blocks. If you want our help, go download the Stall High app. Like Justin said, it's easy peasy, and we're here for you. Until next time, guys, thank you so much for being here, Justin. You're awesome. Thank you, Lori. Thank you, Emily. Thank you, whoever's on the iPhone. We'll see you tonight in class. Bye, everybody.